Tonight, breaking news as we come on the air. The tornadoes touching down here in the Northeast. Tornado watches and warnings across multiple states right now through midnight. Also in New York City, the NYPD recruit dying. Authorities pointing to excessive heat. Also tonight, the breaking news involving President Biden. What former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said today that immediately sent shockwaves through Washington. And now George Clooney's plea to the president tonight. First, multiple tornadoes in the Northeast and the tornado watch just extended as we come on the air tonight. Multiple states now through midnight. Parts of New York, Pennsylvania, right into New England. Also, the tornado warnings near Syracuse. Severe storms on the move right now. And in New York City tonight, that police recruit dying at a training facility collapsing. Authorities now pointing to the dangerous heat. And tonight, Philadelphia issuing excessive heat warnings. Feel like readings above 100. Lee Goldberg standing by with the forecast for these severe storms ahead tonight. We also have the breaking news involving President Biden tonight. Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is asked if the president should stay in the race. And her choice of words made immediate news today. And the influential Democratic donor, actor George Clooney, with a plea to the president to get out of the race, saying you saved democracy and you must do so again by getting out. And what else George Clooney said today. Also tonight, the scare on the runway.
Block tire!
The takeoff aborted, sparks on the runway as an American Airlines flight blows several tires during takeoff. Emergency crews racing in and the other plane emergency. The small plane nearly crashing into a mountain, stalling. The pilot recovering just moments before hitting the ground. The dramatic opening statements in the Alec Baldwin trial. Baldwin right there in court, the arguments from both sides. Tonight, the two American astronauts on board the International Space Station waiting on Boeing's troubled Starliner spacecraft to bring them home. What they said today about returning to Earth. The headline late today from London, the chilling crossbow murders, a mother and two daughters. The new arrest tonight and what authorities have now revealed. The remarkable rescue here in the U.S. on Lake Erie. Multiple boaters clinging to a cooler to stay afloat, and you'll see the rescue. And the daughter on her graduation day making it all about her mother. The surprise, long overdue. America Strong.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us on a very busy Wednesday night. We have breaking news involving President Biden. What former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said today, her choice of words sent shockwaves through Washington immediately. And influential donor actor George Clooney asking the president to get out of the race. Rachel Scott, Mary Bruce, both standing by. But we are going to begin with the breaking news. Several tornadoes here in the Northeast, in New York, and now the tornado watches right now, multiple states, just extended to midnight tonight. These storms moving from the Midwest right into the Northeast now. This EF3 tornado right here with 140-mile-an-hour winds in Mount Vernon, Indiana. Now dangerous storms and multiple tornadoes in western New York, this one in Forestville. A state of emergency in Eden, New York, severe damage from another reported tornado. There have been watches and warnings in Syracuse as well, and they've just been extended across several states, New York to Pennsylvania, right into New England. In New York City tonight, news coming in also of a police recruit dying at a training facility, collapsing, authorities pointing to the dangerous heat. We have the forecast for these storms tonight, and ABC's Ariel Reshef leading us off.
Tonight, a severe weather outbreak in the Northeast. Tornadoes touching down in western New York.
Look at that.
This one near Forestville, about 40 miles southwest of Buffalo.
That is incredible.
Officials in Eden declaring a state of emergency due to damage there. And multiple tornado warnings near Syracuse.
You can see the 4 separate tornado warnings that are currently in effect across central New York.
Overnight, this EF3 twister in Mount Vernon, Indiana, with winds of 140 miles per hour, demolishing a warehouse and several mobile homes. Thankfully, no one was hurt.
Oh, my Lord.
The storms supercharged by tropical moisture from one-time Category 5 Hurricane Beryl and extreme heat. In Philadelphia, excessive heat warnings for feel-like temperatures over 100 degrees. The NYPD mourning the death of a 33-year-old recruit, Edgar Ordonez, who died today after losing consciousness at a training facility in the Bronx, possibly from heat stroke. In the West, record-breaking heat fueling the lake fire outside Santa Barbara, scorching more than 45 square miles. and in southeast Texas, where nearly 3 million people lost power in Beryl. Still, more than 1.5 million are in the dark tonight, and officials still can't say how long it will be until power is restored.
David, here in Central Park tonight, it is hot, it is humid, it is sticky, and still at this point of the evening, it feels like 90 degrees. Thankfully, that heat alert is set to expire later tonight, but it won't last long. Another heat wave is in the forecast for next week. David?
In fact, so much of the country going through this. Ariel Reshef leading us off. Thank you, Ariel. Let's get right to WABC meteorologist Lee Goldberg with the new timing for these storms and, of course, these watches that have just now been extended. Hi, Lee.
Hi, David. Extended till midnight into New England, but a new active tornado warning north of Binghamton. You're in the path of these storms. Have a plan to get to a place of safety, basement, interior room, away from windows. This watch will go till midnight, but we still have a threat through the Adirondacks this evening and ultimately into parts of Vermont and New Hampshire, a flood threat as well. You know, Beryl has been a prolific tornado maker since it made landfall, and now it's bringing its twisting and turning to the northeast. As we go through the overnight, the storms will weaken after about 2 or 3 a.m., and then it's just tropical downpours. The one benefit is we get a little relief from the extreme humidity. At least it'll feel like only lower 90s rather than triple digits. You will notice the difference in the northeast, but that'll come right back with tropical downpours on Friday. The heat is endless out west from Reno all the way to Rapid City, record highs into the weekend. David?
Lee Goldberg back with us tonight from WABC. Lee, thank you. Of course, the other major story tonight, the breaking news involving President Biden. The president on the world stage again today, hosting that high-stakes NATO meeting in Washington. But one of the major headlines today involved former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. She was asked if the president should stay in the race, and her choice of words made immediate news. And the influential Democratic donor, actor George Clooney, with a plea to the president to get out of the race, saying, "You saved democracy and you must do so again by getting out." And what else Clooney said today. But it was the former speaker, Nancy Pelosi, saying, "We're all encouraging President Biden to make his decision because time is running short," in her words. But the president has already said he's staying in this race. So what's going on here? Here's Rachel Scott.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
President Biden just moments ago welcoming the new British Prime Minister to the Oval Office, hoping to turn the page from the crisis engulfing his campaign. The president has defiantly rejected calls to drop out, insisting he's staying in the race and urging Democrats to rally around him. Still today, the powerful former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, went on television and said she'll support whatever decision the president makes. But she was pressed, hasn't he already announced he's staying in the race?
It's up to the president to decide if he is going to run. We're all encouraging him to make that decision because time is running short. I think overwhelming support of the caucus. It's not for me to say. I'm not the head of the caucus anymore. But he's beloved. He is respected, and people want him to make that decision, not me.
He has said he has made the decision. He has said firmly this week he is going to run. Do you want him to run?
I want him to do whatever he decides to do, and that's the way it is. Whatever he decides, we go with.
Pelosi urging Democrats to give the president space until the NATO conference ends this week.
I think it's really important, and I would hope everyone would join in, to let him deal with this NATO conference. And I've said to everyone, let's just hold off. Whatever you're thinking, either tell somebody privately, but you don't have to put that out on the table until we see how we go this week.
But Pelosi's suggestion that Biden's decision might not be final sent shockwaves rippling through the Capitol, where I caught up with her.
Do you believe that him waiting so long to make this decision could harm the party?
Any comments in the hallway about the fate of our nation? Okay?
Are you concerned whether or not he can win in November?
I think he can win in November.
Do you believe he should run for re-election?
I'm not speaking English to you. I'm not going to be making any statements about any of that right now in the hallway.
At a meeting of NATO leaders, the president asked about Pelosi's comments. Hours later, another blow. The New York Times publishing this op-ed from actor and Democratic mega-donor George Clooney. "I love Joe Biden, but we need a new nominee." Just 3 weeks ago, Clooney raised $30 million for the president at a star-studded Hollywood fundraiser. But today, Clooney writes, "It's devastating to say it, but the Joe Biden I was with 3 weeks ago at the fundraiser was not the Joe Biden of 2010. He wasn't even the Joe Biden of 2020. He was the same man we all witnessed at the debate. Clooney was blunt. We are not going to win in November with this president. On top of that, we won't win the House, and we're going to lose the Senate. This isn't only my opinion. This is the opinion of every senator and Congress member and governor that I've spoken with in private. Every single one, irrespective of what he or she is saying publicly. Clooney, a major player in Democratic politics, ending with this. Joe Biden is a hero. He saved democracy in 2020. We need him to do it again in 2024. But tonight, the president giving no indications he's dropping out.
4 more years! 4 more years!
The first president to walk a picket line, making a personal visit to the headquarters of the crucial labor powerhouse, the AFL-CIO.
We're better positioned than any country in the world to own the remainder of the 21st century because of union labor.
The brief appearance meant to send the signal that unions are on his side.
So let's bring in Rachel Scott live at the Capitol again tonight. Rachel, tomorrow, top officials from the Biden campaign are expected to head up to Capitol Hill to make the case to Democrats as to why they should rally behind the president. On the flip side, you've also learned tonight that House Democratic Speaker Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic leader, I should say, has promised his members he'll take their concerns to the president. So it would appear messages are going back and forth here.
Yes, David, I'm told Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has invited top advisors from the Biden campaign to meet directly with Senate Democrats to address their concerns about his campaign and the path forward. Meanwhile, we know that Leader Hakeem Jeffries has been doing a round of meetings with his members, promising to relay their concerns directly to the president. David.
Rachel Scott live up on the Hill. Rachel, thank you. One more quick question on this tonight. Let's get right to Mary Bruce live at the White House. And Mary, the White House had to have been listening very closely to former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi today. She's still very influential, of course. And you heard there, Pelosi suggested today, give the president the week and that she'll stand behind whatever decision he makes. But you've reported here the president has said he's staying in this race. So this certainly does not appear to be settled.
No, it certainly does not. Look, even as the president tries to turn the page here with this NATO summit here in Washington, the president, the White House, his campaign have all been adamant that he has made up his mind and that he isn't going anywhere. It was just 2 days ago that the president sent that letter to Democrats stating bluntly, quote, I am firmly committed to staying in this race. And he hasn't been budging, which is why Pelosi's comments today were so surprising. Tonight, his campaign is clear-eyed that it is going to take a lot of work here to get everyone on the same page. And tomorrow will be a critical test of that. The president facing reporters in a rare solo news conference. And we, of course, will be carrying it live here on ABC right before World News Tonight, David.
We will carry that live with you, Mary. And Mary, laser-focused, even with the band behind her, for these NATO events at the White House. Mary, thank you. In the meantime, we move on to the other news tonight. The scare on the runway, the takeoff aborted, sparks on the runway, an American Airlines flight blowing several tires during takeoff from Tampa to Phoenix. Emergency crews racing in, and here's Trevor Ault.
Tonight, frightening moments mid-takeoff.
Whoa, 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 whoa!
Watch as tires on this American Airlines plane explode as it was speeding down the runway.
Emergency, emergency, emergency!
The plane headed to Phoenix from Tampa with 180 people on board, the pilot aborting the takeoff.
We had a blown tire, and we're going to be needed to 2 degrees.
Sparks seen flying, emergency crews racing in. American Airlines saying the plane experienced a mechanical issue and they're investigating the incident. We're told that small fire was burning by design to prevent a larger explosion. No injuries were reported. This comes just 2 days after a United flight leaving Los Angeles lost a tire during takeoff.
Just to give you a heads up, the tower call, they think that you lost a tire on the takeoff.
Passengers on board later told by the crew to brace for a bumpy landing. Back in March, a rear tire of another United plane fell off mid-flight, smashing cars and a fence upon landing. David, the FAA says the crew on this American Airlines plane reported multiple blown tires, and the agency will now investigate. David?
Trevor Ault with us tonight. Thank you, Trevor. We turn now to the dramatic opening statements in Alec Baldwin's trial after the deadly accidental shooting on the Rust movie set. Baldwin was right there in court today, charged with involuntary manslaughter. The opening statements from both sides tonight. Here's Mola Lengi.
Tonight, more than 2 years after the fatal shooting on the set of Rust, Alec Baldwin appearing in a Santa Fe, New Mexico court for his involuntary manslaughter trial. Baldwin's wife, Hilaria, and his brother, actor Stephen Baldwin, seated behind him. In opening statements, prosecutors disputing Baldwin's claim that he did not pull the trigger on the gun that killed cinematographer Helena Hutchins in October 2021.
He pointed the gun at another human being, cocked the hammer, and pulled that trigger in reckless disregard for Ms. Hutchins' safety.
And prosecutors telling the jury of 11 women and 5 men that evidence will show a pattern of recklessness on set.
You will hear about numerous breaches of firearm safety with this defendant and this use of this firearm.
Today, Baldwin's lawyer calling the deadly shooting a tragic accident, but arguing that Baldwin did not commit a crime.
Alec took the gun from those charged with its safety. He did not tamper with it. He did not load it himself. He did not leave it unattended. It was an actor handling a prop.
The defense saying firearm checks were the responsibility of the film armorer, Hannah Gutierrez, and the assistant director in charge of safety, Dave Halls, and that the real issue is how a live bullet made it into the gun.
You will hear no evidence, not one word, that Alec Baldwin had anything to do with that real bullet being brought onto that set.
Well, it's still unclear if Baldwin will take the stand and testify in his own defense, David.
Mola Lenghi tonight. Mola, thank you. Tonight we are also hearing from the 2 NASA test pilots on the International Space Station with no date yet for their return to the U.S. Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams launched more than a month ago the first crew to fly Boeing's new Starliner spacecraft. Now NASA, as you know, working to resolve problems with Starliner's thrusters and helium leaks to try to get them back to Earth. The astronauts clearly optimistic today.
I have a real good feeling in my heart that this spacecraft will bring us home, no problem.
We can't wait till they're home. NASA says they won't be back until the end of July at the earliest. When we come back here tonight, the breaking headline, the chilling crossbow murders near London, a mother and 2 daughters. The new arrest tonight and what authorities have now revealed. And then here in the U.S., the remarkable rescue on Lake Erie, multiple boaters clinging to a cooler to stay afloat. And you'll see this rescue in a moment. To the news coming in tonight from London, the horrific crossbow murder investigation north of London. Authorities say 3 women, a mother and 2 daughters, were killed in their home. They were the wife and 2 daughters of a BBC commentator, John Hunt. Police launching a massive manhunt late today, arresting Kyle Clifford in a London cemetery, calling the murders a, quote, targeted incident. When we come back here tonight, here in the U.S., the small plane nearly crashing into a mountain, stalling, and you're going to see how the pilot recovers just moments before hitting the ground. To the index of other news tonight and to the terrifying moments for the pilot of a small plane outside Denver. Look at this video showing the Cessna stalling at the top of a mountain in a nosedive there, appearing to nearly crash into the ground. The pilot recovering with moments to spare and then landing safely. Tonight, an incredible rescue in Lake Erie. 5 people were pulled from the water. They'd been clinging to a cooler to stay afloat. The Coast Guard pulling all 5 to safety. Their 22-foot boat was hit by a wave 10 miles offshore. One of the people thrown from the boat, floating, but still able to call 911, staying on the phone and holding onto that cooler until help arrived. Just incredible. When we come back here tonight, the mother, proud of her daughter's graduation, but the whole family had something else planned for that mother in a moment. Finally tonight here, The Graduates, a mother and daughter, America Strong. Tonight, the surprise for a beloved mother after her daughter's graduation. She thought it was all about her daughter, but it was soon all about her 4 decades later. Her daughter, Miranda Turner, had just graduated from Catholic University of America, Columbus School of Law in Washington, D.C. Her entire family was there, including her mother, Pamela. Pamela is a lawyer, and she would tell her children growing up that back in 1982, a car accident took her away from her studies, and she failed just 1 class just before graduation. As a result, they would not let her walk with her fellow graduates. 42 years later, her children knowing that story well, with a surprise package for their mother. A graduation gown for Pamela. Trying it on.
Hi.
And then another surprise, a graduation photo shoot. Tonight here, mother and daughter following in her footsteps. All these years later, both in cap and gown.
What the children did really helped to heal that part of my heart.
No matter what sort of bad thing happens, it's not the end of your story. You can always keep going.
A mother proud of her daughter and the whole family making sure mom finally got her moment too. Good night.
Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir, America's most watched newscast.